I'm faced with the usual dilemma right now where I have a client or a potential client that is interviewing us, and they keep saying, show us what it's going to look like. What do you normally do? And I can't seem to explain to them that I can't tell them what it's going to look like until I know exactly what they're looking for. Uh, they keep saying, we want to see what you normally do. Well, architecture is, I don't think, like a lot of other professions. If you're an accountant, 2 plus 2 plus 2 is always going to add up to 6. And yeah, I know a couple people that may challenge that, but I think it's going to add up to 6. Whenever we were in school, one of the first definitions that we got for architecture was that architecture is creative problem solving. And I think what that means is that every time you approach it, there's going to be a different set of variables, there's going to be a different set of conditions, and it's always going to produce a different outcome no matter how you put it together. You're never going to get the same thing twice, unless you just directly copy it like a track house. But there's always things that come into it from the standpoint that if you're doing, say, a building for an accountant, and they may have a certain image, corporate image to project, they may like a certain color, and 6 months later you do a building for another accountant that has a completely different image and hates the color green that you put on the last building, and they have a different site. It's a hilly site versus a flat site, or it's on a corner, and so it's going to add up to something completely different. It's not going to be the same as building A. And even in situations where you think it's going to be the same, it's always going to be different. Someone may like a building that you did, like the Cashman equipment that we did. Well, there was a very, very defined set of parameters there with the corporate image of the company and Caterpillar International, and how much money they were spending or not spending, and what they wanted to get out of it. So it's always going to add up to something different. And that's part of the beauty of it, because you don't know what the outcome is. You've got to learn the personality of the client, you've got to know their likes, their dislikes, you've got to figure out what they are trying to project in the space that they're in or the building that they're in. I think the only time you really can say you have a really successful project is when the owner just looks at the final product and goes, this is way more than I ever expected. I never thought it was going to be like this. And hopefully they say that in a good tone. Architecture is not as simple as 2 plus 2 plus 2, and I'm not offending any accountant friends, but you're always going to have a different answer. But again, it's always going to be something that's unique, and that's the whole beauty of design. And I think that's what makes it interesting. Later.